In Total Money now, if you're thinking of transferring the balance of one credit card to another, there are pros and cons. On one hand, a balance transfer can be an effective way to pay off your debt. On the other, you could end up paying a heap of transfer fees or taking on even more debt. And then, of course, there's your credit score, something to consider. Luckily, we're joined now by John Paradise from Town and Country Federal Credit Union to kind of talk us through these issues. John, thanks for joining us today, as usual.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, can you explain a little further? Because I think anyone who has probably ever used a credit card has maybe come across this decision.
Yeah, and it really is. It's a cauldron of things to consider when you're deciding or trying to decide, am I going to transfer? Should I? First thing is, you've got to make sure you're not paying any balance transfer fees. And if you aren't, and you're convinced of that, and you're sure of that, then there are other things to consider. I think the credit usage is a big consideration. It actually can help your credit score, because if you transfer it to a new credit card, it usually means you have to open a new credit card, and that ironically will give you access to more credit, and that improves your credit usage score. So let's say you open a new credit card, your credit usage availability could drop from like 50% to 33%,
right,
thus boosting your credit score. Now, of course, the danger is you have access to more credit, don't utilize it.
Yes.
Because then you're taking on more debt, you're really defeating the purpose.
So it's kind of like a catch-22 also, because the more credit you have, sometimes if your credit usage goes down percentage-wise, but you still have more credit available, that can also impact your credit score.
It can in the short term. In the short term, it can make it go up a little bit. In the long term, it can actually make it go down, because if you're not utilizing it, again, that's the important thing, and a lot of people don't have that restraint, and you have more credit and I can charge more things, and then you do, and then your credit score. So it's a catch-22, like you said.
Absolutely.
So be very careful about that. I think the other thing is, when you open a new credit card to make that balance transfer, your credit score will go down, because you've got a credit inquiry, and anytime there's a hard credit inquiry, like there would be with a new credit card being opened, or you're applying for one, that will make your credit score go down short term again. These are all short-term things that will impact your credit score, but the long and the short of it is, it's not a bad thing to do a balance transfer. Again, if you're not doing any fees, if you're looking at your interest rate, you can lower that, and you can possibly open some new access to credit. As long as you don't utilize it, that can help your credit score long term.
Yes, that is definitely something to consider.
Restraint.
Yes, restraint. Always important. John, thank you so much for joining us as usual.
Thank you, Megan.